everybody, and welcome to Ankh Fusion Podcast. It's always a great pleasure to be with you on Monday. For those who are following me, I'm Gigi, your host and provider of happiness. For the new people, welcome to Ankh Fusion Podcast. It's a safe space where you tap into your level of abundance in all areas of your life and business. Today, we have the honor to welcome John Keating with us. Hello, John. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Thank you for being with us. It's always a great pleasure to have someone with such a knowledge and awareness. And I want to say, guys, yesterday it was his birthday. So happy birthday, John.
Thank you very much.
And don't forget to wish him happy birthday in the comment. So I'm going to give a bit of an introduction about who you are. So you have been bringing over 40 years of experiences with students, entrepreneur, executive, and professional. You help them to overcome the fear of speaking. So thank you. And you are as well one of my mentors for Toastmaster Club. And you help them to craft a bit the content, the style, to clear the voice, the poses, the concise, and to be compelling. Do you want to add something more about you, maybe?
I suppose for me, it's helping individuals to become confident, be confident speakers, and be able to connect with the audience. That's the essence of, and overcome that fear we all have at some degree of public speaking.
Yeah, it's true. Let's start by defining communication. I think it's important to define the verb communicate. Communicate, it's about sharing information with others by speaking, writing, or moving our body, or using as well other reasoning or signals. And it can be as well the importance on non-verbal communications. So when we are aware of the verb communicating, then we can start to apply it. So how do we overcome the fear of speaking like I do?
Yeah, the fear, first and foremost, we have to recognize that the fear is normal, it's natural, and everybody experiences the fear of public speaking. Mark Twain once said 97% of people have a fear of public speaking, and the other 3% are liars. So it's normal and natural for us all to have that fear. For me, in my journey, years ago, I worked in London, and every Friday morning I'd have to stand and speak and report to the director. And every Thursday night, I would be nauseous at the thought of going in. And I think we all go through the experience of, it's going to be terrible, I'm going to be terrible. We catastrophize, and we tell ourselves, oh, I'm terrible at public speaking, I hate public speaking. And then we go in Friday morning, we're sick, and the thought of it, we just get through it. So I think we've all experienced some degree of that nightmare of public speaking. For me, the overcoming of that fear began when we moved back to Ireland, and a friend suggested that I join Toastmasters. Now, for those that may not know, Toastmasters is a worldwide organization. It's voluntary run, and its aim is to help people become confident communicators. So I joined that organization, but the problem, they met at night, and they met fortnightly. And for me at the time, that was awkward with 2 young children. So Bishopstown Library had recently opened. And I approached the library about starting a Saturday morning club. And I was able to bring the kids downstairs and run the club upstairs. And that was the start of my journey into overcoming my fear.
Your own fear while helping others. To do so.
Yeah. So today I've turned that passion, that hobby of Toastmasters into a business. And since then I've learned a lot of other techniques of overcoming the fear. And they begin with affirmations, because I think we all say to ourselves, and clients that come to me, they say, I'm terrified of public speaking, like I used to say.
Yeah.
So that's like old wiring in a house. We've had hardwired now in our heads that we don't like public speaking, that it's going to be terrible. So we've got to change that. So by confirming and affirming that we're going to be positive speakers is one step. Another step that's important is visualizing. Sports people, business people visualize themselves positively going through the process. of standing up and giving a speech, and that's very important. Ultimately, practice.
Preparation, yeah.
You can't get away from that, So, and it's those elements, the affirmations, the visualizations, the practice, and then I work with people sort of to craft that message. So the message is tight, it's very clear, it's concise. So that's the process of overcoming. You go through all those various different steps, and then, like yourself, you can join a Toastmasters club, where you get stage time to practice and the support of others. So they're the main steps.
Yeah, that's a really nice platform, guys. It's here in Ireland, so don't hesitate to join as well the platform Toastmaster Club in Bishopstown, because we are really here to welcome each other and to give the push that we need.
Yes.
I think it's important as well to know that the anxiety of speech can come as well from, like you mentioned, the preparation is really important, but sometimes as well we have a hostile audience. Or do we handle that when it's something that we cannot control as well?
I think critical element is breathing is number one. And when it comes to an audience, it's really crafting that message for them. So for me, it all begins from the pen to the podium, to the actual presentation, is understanding your audience and knowing who they are, what their problems are, what their issues are, so that you can address those. And I think if you make that connection, for me, the definition of communication is connection, is making connection with the audience. So if you make a good connection with your audience, I think then you're on the same page. It's very important for the audience to feel that you're there for them.
Yes, and not the other way around.
Not the other way around.
Yeah, that's a mistake that's much, that it's happening often as well.
Yeah, you don't want to be up there selling. You want to be up there connecting.
Yeah.
And I think the audience is not looking for perfection. They're looking for that concept of connection. And if you're not, if you're doing your best, then you're focused on that audience and you're there for them, then you'll make that connection.
Yeah, it's really important to connect, like you said, and not to put yourself first, but put the audience, the customer first.
Yeah.
What do we do when we have the brain freeze? Brain freeze.
Yeah, brain freeze. We've all had it. Yeah? Yes. Again, it's not to worry. It's just to take a deep breath and refocus yourselves. And there's no problem saying to you, oh, I just lost my train of thought. And just take a deep breath and try and go back. And not to worry about the silence. So, we tend to panic when the silence comes. If we get brain freeze or brain fog and there's silence and there's nothing coming out, we can just, I've had this. And let the audience know. And just relax. And it will come back. The thing that really goes wrong is we start to panic. That makes the whole situation 10 times worse. And then we're in serious trouble.
Yeah, for me, one of my challenge as a public speaker, it's focusing on the word. And if I'm not saying the word that I wrote or that I have in my mind, I got lost.
Yeah, and that's a common problem. And so when we craft a speech, it's very important that we use words that don't trip us up. Because sometimes one word will.
Yeah.
And if you're practicing and a word is tripping you up, then you need to take that word out, put it in the bin, and find a different word. Clear and concise is easy. That's the way we should try and keep it. And just avoid jargon and avoid words, long words. Short words are best. And that's the only way we can effectively watch out for words that will trip us up.
Yeah, that's true. So to overcome, I will sum a bit the advice that you give, the step. So it's important to know your topic. Let's start from there. There is no other choice.
No.
Then we can move to get organized, because it will help the fluidity of the speech. And practice in front of different audience, family members, people that you don't know. Visual your success, projecting ourselves, and make sure when we're projecting ourselves, we see ourselves winning and have a beautiful presentation, and the most important to the breathing. Yeah, to take some deep breathing, and we see the difference. And I practice that often now because I'm someone who can be easily stressed. And since then, yeah, it changed my life. I'm more confident during my speech. Mm-hmm. So let's move to the clear, concise, and confident communication in the entrepreneurship journey, because it's important. As an entrepreneur, you are meant to communicate in different ways. It can be as well to attract new leads, new customer, but as well to present your business. So there are different ways. Can you develop a bit?
Yeah. For entrepreneurs and for business people generally, the structure of their presentation is vitally important. Mm-hmm. And there's one structure called the Monroe Motivational Sequence. It was developed by a Professor Monroe from Purdue University back in the 50s and 60s. And it's still very relevant today. Mm-hmm. And it's a great structure to put any business into. Okay. So the first step in that structure is you have to get the attention of the audience. Mm-hmm. So you have to figure out if it's coffee or whatever your business is, try and figure out something that will grab the attention of the audience to start with.
Yeah.
So you have a strong opening.
Mm-hmm. When you say that, you're talking about the elevator pitch?
Elevator pitch.
Yeah.
It's very similar. The elevator pitch tends to be a lot shorter.
Okay.
That's normally about 30 seconds, and that has a slightly different structure. Mm-hmm. But for crafting your story, mm-hmm. I think the Monroe structure is very effective, okay. and it can help you craft that pitch. Mm-hmm. So the first part is you really have to get the attention of the audience.
Okay.
So you come up with a sentence that makes it relevant to that audience. Mm-hmm. The next step then in the process is painting the pain. Okay. And what that means is I'm going to talk about, let's say for public speaking, mm-hmm. I could start by saying the quotation of Mark Twain.
Yeah.
90%, 3% liars. That would get the audience's attention. Mm-hmm. Now, I then want to paint the pain. Have you ever experienced your hands sweaty, your heart beating, mm-hmm. Dry mouth, and this sense of anxiety when it comes to public speaking? So that's the pain.
Yeah.
Okay. So whatever product or service your company is addressing, mm-hmm. the problem it's solving for the audience, that's where the pain is painted. Mm-hmm. And what you're saying to the audience, I understand your pain. I understand your issue. Mm-hmm. Okay. So you paint that pain. Mm-hmm. So the next step, then you can't leave your audience in pain. So you have to give them the solution.
Yeah.
Right? So the solution in terms of public speaking could be Toastmasters. Mm-hmm. It could be working with me on a one-to-one basis. It's about getting practice. Mm-hmm. So you have to have a solution.
Yeah.
So in terms of public speaking, let's say for my business, the solution would be to work one-to-one. Mm-hmm. We will get to understand your business. We'll get to understand your clients, and we will craft a story to address that. And then we will look at how you can stand up and deliver that mm-hmm. in a way that has purpose, poise, and passion.
Yeah.
So that's the solution. Mm-hmm. So we've got their attention.
Yes.
We've painted the pain. Mm-hmm. We've given them the solution. Mm-hmm. Now, the next step is crucial. It's about taking your audience into the future mm-hmm. with your solution.
Yeah.
So for me, I would then say, now imagine yourself, after we've worked together, standing in front of an audience of 1,000 people and more. Mm-hmm. And you can see yourself walking out, smiling, confident,
yes,
and very, full of energy and delighted to be there. And you're going to connect with that audience. Mm-hmm. So I've taken you into the future with the solution.
True.
Right? Mm-hmm. And that's what we need to do. That's what entrepreneurs need to do, mm-hmm. is to sort of say, here's the pain, here's the solution. Now see yourself mm-hmm. with this solution and your problem is resolved.
True. And the idea is, as an entrepreneur with the communication, is to transform an idea into a vision.
Yes.
And define how it's different from another one, explain why it will work, and engage people on helping them to make a reality of it.
Yes.
So that's the beauty of it.
And the last step in that process is the call to action.
Yeah, always. True.
Right?
You're right.
So show me the money. Are we going to work together? Do you want to have coffee? Are we going to do a deal? When do we start? So you have to, so you go through the process, you get their attention, you paint the pain, here's the solution, see yourself in the future with the solution. So when do we start working together?
And for the call to action is my next question. How long do we have to let the audience to reflect? Because there is the call to action, but the audience will never take action straight away. So sometimes it takes like a week, or sometimes it's straightforward. So what's the challenge for the entrepreneur to not let too long?
Build in scarcity. I can only work with so many people. So if you're really interested in working together, I would suggest we start booking now.
Okay.
So, we do need to motivate. So scarcity is one element, right? Building scarcity into it. I have only 10 cups of water. If you want one and you're thirsty, buy now.
Create a urge.
Yeah, create that scarcity. There's only so much. And sometimes the audience need that energy and that push to make that decision. The other aspect is, if you don't make a decision today, will your situation change? Or will you be still in the same position?
True. Yeah.
So make a decision today and make a change, and tomorrow will be a different day. So again, you can vocalize and communicate that, but it's vital that you do it on a basis that you need to take action now.
Yeah.
Or nothing happens.
Yeah, you're right. It's well said.
That's the name of my business. Well said. Well said communication.
Entrepreneurs always try to improve their communication skills because it will assist them in sharing their ideas and presenting them clearly, or to constantly work with a better way and with the staff member, the team member, client and colleague, because we know we don't interact the same way with a team worker, a client and a colleague. What are the steps to adapt our communication based on the person we have in front of us?
Well, I think what we should always try and do as a standard across whoever we speak to, we should speak with an authenticity.
Yeah, it's important.
That everybody knows that when I'm communicating, I'm speaking honestly.
Yeah.
And I'm speaking in your interest. It's not about me, it's for you. So across all levels, the difference, I suppose, then when we're talking to clients, we're really focused on their needs. Whereas we're talking about with colleagues, we're talking about how we're going to work together to make for the client. So we will be talking together in the interest of the client. But again, that communication style needs to be authentic. It needs to be respectful. A critical part of communication is listening.
Yeah, I like you say that, because people always are talking about being in the action, but I think we get more information while we are listening than while we are speaking. Yeah,
and then in terms of colleagues, it's giving them the space to communicate and to listen to them and be respectful for their ideas and their contributions. That's critically important. So listening is a huge element of communication, so that information is flowing freely and there's no fear, or nobody's going to be feeling that if I say this, people will think I'm silly. So listening and encouraging a free flow of information is vital when we're communicating internally.
But listening as well, it's important, but again, you can listen in the wrong way and you cannot catch the right information.
Yeah, I mean, with a lot of communication, we're not listening at all. We're waiting for the other person to shut up, and so we can just keep talking.
Yeah, some people are like this.
Yeah. So I'm talking about active listening.
Yeah, active listening. That's what I want. What is it? Can we define that for the audience?
Active listening is complete listening. Being completely open, not waiting for the person to stop talking. To listen. I love the idea of the Indian talking stick. It was the style developed by the American Indians years ago when there was conflicts between tribes. They would get together, and what they would do was they'd have a big Indian stick,
Mm-hmm.
And I'd have the stick. So let's say you and I have a problem.
Yes.
With you being late or something like that, right?
Yeah.
I'd have the stick and I'd say, Gigi, a problem turning up late, is really causing a problem, X, Y, and Z.
Yes.
That's the problem. So I'd give the stick to you. And then you'd say, John, I understand that me turning up late is causing a problem. Now, what you've done is you've listened
and acknowledged.
And you've acknowledged,
yes.
right? And then you would say, well, I intend to be in future to get here early, whatever the solution is. And it would come back to me and I said, Judith, that's great. I understand. Today was a problem and you're going to make every effort in future. Yeah, perfect. So there's no accusations, there's no arguing. I've listened to you, I've understood you, and I've respected you, and we've come to a conclusion. So it's active listening and it's respectful. So I think that's an effective way.
Yeah, true. Yeah, take the time to give the space for
and to acknowledge the person so that they know that you listened.
Yeah, but the challenge now in nowadays society, we are living in the multicultural world as well. So we need to be aware of the culture
and accents
and all those things that make us different and unique and strong as well. So as an entrepreneur for your client base, how can you shape your communication, still attract everyone, give that sense of unity, but still be respectful towards the ethnicity and cultural differences?
I think critically, in terms of understanding and communicating, if English isn't your first language, it's being respectful. The other person needs to be respectful of that. And pausing is very important, and encouraging a pause so that the non-native speaker, non-native English speaker would learn the concept of pausing and making sure that the pace of the conversation is slowed down. When I lived in London years ago, as a Cork person, I used to rattle very fast. Yeah. And nobody understood a word I was saying. So I had to learn to slow down. And it was a good exercise to slow down, because if I didn't, I wasn't going to be getting anywhere fast.
True.
So I had to learn that. Even though everybody was speaking English, mine was just too fast. So that's the challenge. But it is, and it's being not conscious of the different nuances and different interpretations. But if the conversation is open and honest, we can always seek clarification.
Yeah.
And then that's what we should try and do.
Yeah, always give that little door for clarification.
Yes.
Yeah, big door actually. Let's move on to entrepreneur structure. We were talking about earlier about the pitch investor.
Yeah.
So let's define first what's a pitch elevator pitch. So an elevator pitch is a brief, usually it's around 30-second way of introducing ourselves. And we're getting across keys, points or two, and making a connection with someone. So in which context are you using elevator pitch, and how to prepare a strong elevator pitch?
Okay, just to give the background to the elevator pitch, it started, I think, in the 50s and 60s in America. And the idea is that if you were in Hollywood and you had an idea for a movie, you'd wait around in different hotels and you'd see a producer of movies. And if he got into the lift, the elevator, you'd jump in with him. And by the time it got to the top floor or 30 seconds, you would have pitched the idea of the movie to him.
Okay.
So that's where the elevator pitch came in. So you had 30 seconds between the ground floor to the top floor. Bang, that's my idea. I have an idea for a huge shark coming out biting people, and it's called Jaws.
Yeah.
Bang. So that's the pitch. So elevator pitches are very useful at networking events. So if someone asks you, what do you do? What you don't want to do is tell them, I help, I write speeches, or I.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
People they don't want. So I would say, would you suffer from glossophobia? People say, what? And glossophobia is the technical word of public speaking. Or sometimes I could say to people, do you love public speaking?
Mm-hmm.
That's something I help people with.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, so you go back with your approach.
Yeah. So like the pitch should be crafted in such a way that it helps the other person.
Okay.
So it's not what I do. It's if you have this situation, this is how I do. No, sometimes I would say to people, I help entrepreneurs communicate with confidence. Mm-hmm. Short and simple.
Yeah, true.
It's very, very straightforward.
Because sometimes we tend to make it complex. We think that we need to go into details and make like 4, 5, 6 lines and even more. So it's hard as well. It's a hard exercise to condense the vision in a short.
Yeah, and like there's a lady who is very strong in social media. Mm-hmm. So I suggested I help entrepreneurs move their ideas, products, and services through the landscape of social media.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's nicely said.
Yeah, so again, you
can rephrase and adapt based on the.
But the thing with the pitch is to make sure you practice it and make sure that it's internalized and it comes across conversational. And once you have a design for that, test it and have a few other elevator pitches in mind, but focus it and craft it in the interest of the other.
Yeah, guys, don't hesitate to leave a comment as well while you will be listening the podcast and to tell us how do you prepare your elevator pitch. It will be nice to see how you position yourself with that. Communication play as well a pivotal role in entrepreneurship and venture seeking. So it's important to see that the language play in terms of conceptualizing things and venture. It's an opportunity to persuade stakeholders. And as well, we need to be aware of the language that goes beyond, because if we have as well a limited linguistic, it can be a challenge. I wouldn't say a block, because there is always an opportunity to work around. But if we have a limited linguistic verbal use, how do we simplify but as well uplift our vocabulary based on the sector we are? Storytelling. Yeah.
Storytelling. Yeah. Always tell stories. Stories are just amazing. We love stories. We're hardwired for stories. From the invention of fire thousands and thousands of years ago, we started sitting around the fire and exchanging ideas. Where to hunt, what to hunt, how to avoid being hunted, right? And what to eat, what not to eat. And that's the foundation of our society. Our civilization is storytelling. What we're doing is storytelling. We are physiologically no different from 30, 40,000 years ago. Our brains are still the same. We have microphones and cameras and lots of technology today, but we're still essentially telling stories. So if you have a product or an idea, tell the story, craft that story. Now, again, there is a very good structure for telling the story. And it's been used extensively. It's nothing new. Pixar movies have one structure for all their movies. And it's a great way to slot your product or idea or business into. So the Pixar structure, or the Pixar pitch as it's properly called, starts off with once upon a time. So again, my story would be in the early 90s, I was terrified of public speaking. So that was my once upon a time. Then the next step is every day. So every Friday, for me, it was nauseous, the idea of presenting. In Finding Nemo, once upon a time, there was a whale and the son, and the father was a widow. And then every day, the father would tell Nemo, don't swim out in the open sea because it's dangerous out there. Then one day, which is the next step, for me, one day someone suggested joining Toastmasters. For Nemo, one day he decided to go out and swim in the open water, and he was gone, right? Because of that, the father had to get his friends together and go and find him, and because of that, they went and found him, and until finally they got him and brought him back, and the message was love is trust. For me, someone suggested joining Toastmasters. Because of that, I learned communication skills. Because of that, I started developing clubs. Because of that, I transformed into my own business, Well Said Communications, until finally I'm here with you this evening. So that's a structure we can put any business into. And the critical element is the one day. That one day something changed.
Yeah.
That's where all our lives have those elements built into them. That one day where something sent us off in a different path.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's really important to tell a story. And I like as well the fact in terms of public speaking, there are different pathways. Can you give us a bit of a different pathway that in speaking?
Yeah, in Toastmasters, there's about 10 different pathways. So you can take presentation mastery, demonstrations, you can do storytelling. There are about 10 different paths, but the idea is that each path will give you a degree of skill in each form of presentation that you can go. So it's a very well thought out, structured program, and it's developed at your own pace.
Yeah, it's really nice, guys. Once again, join the club. So it was, slowly getting to the end of the podcast, the 30 minutes together. Do you want to sum or just give something or some word that will push entrepreneurs that feel challenged with the way of communicating with their business?
Success in businesses, positive, effective communication is not optional.
Yeah.
If you want to be successful in business, you have to master the skill of communication. Steve Jobs built a huge business, but he was relentless in terms of his communication skills. There's actually a video of Steve Jobs giving his first TV interview, still on YouTube. And just before he goes on, he calls for a bucket because he feels so nervous and so nauseous he's going to get sick. Right? Years later, through relentless practice and perfecting his message, he became a master storyteller. Everybody goes through that process of having to learn that skill. But if you want to succeed in business today, you have to be a storyteller. You have to be able to communicate. It is not optional. And there is no excuse for anybody to, if they really are passionate about their dream, they have to learn that and recognize it's a skill. And the more you do it, the better you get. But if you want success, if you want to be a leader in your community, if you want to launch a product, if you don't learn to communicate and connect with your audience, I'm afraid your chances of success are very poor because communication is vital.
Yeah, it's vital. Yeah, because we are communicating communicative being. So we are meant to communicate it. Right?
And to communicate, to connect.
Yeah, and to connect. Yeah.
That's the point of communication, is to make connection. So if you want investors, if you want people to work with you, if you want anything to succeed, your ability to communicate and connect with others is going to be the key to your success.
Yeah. Thank you for those lovely words, John. I really appreciate spending my time with you. It's always knowledge require energy, and we're going to kick it with the rest of the week. So thank you for that.
It's been a pleasure. I've enjoyed it.
And guys, don't forget what to do. You know what to do now. So it's about joining the community by activating the bell and on the YouTube channel and Spotify. So like this, you will be notified for the next video. And I hope you enjoyed the time with us, and see you next Monday. Bye.
Bye-bye.